For some reason, it just made me think about the lines in The Grinch about how well he lies. Exactly. We should cut that because I can't remember the exact lines, but...
Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through Worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
We read Snare 13.7, perhaps?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, sort of another setup chapter. We are kind of preparing to attack the Nine in a much less advantageous way than we did earlier in the arc.
So, yeah.
It's gonna go really badly, I bet.
Could be messy. But hey, Trickster has a plan.
Trickster has a plan.
So that's good.
So, yay.
I enjoyed both this chapter and the last chapter were kind of two mini chapters. We had kind of a clear scene break in the middle. Mm-hmm. You could also read it as like it's maybe three chapters across a stretch of two chapters because we have kind of the actual chapter break happens in the middle of this scene at Coil's base.
Right. They're kind of three big scenes. Yeah. Yeah, and this one really ends on a cliffhanger, but it's a cliffhanger about finding out Trickster's plan, which is a really fun cliffhanger because it's not like dire, but I do really, really want to know because I bet it's cool.
And you can speculate as to what in her conversation with Legend and Miss Militia.
Oh my gosh, that sounds hard. Well, should I start by telling you what happens in the chapter?
Yes, before we get into speculations and analysis, we should get into summaries.
All right, so we start in the middle of the scene where we left off with everyone interrogating Cherish in Coil's base. Cherish is maybe trying to provoke Taylor a little bit. She is refusing to give up information about where Gru is being held and what is going on with Imp. And she says that what she wants in exchange for the information about Imp is medical treatment and keeping her safe. And for the information on Gru, she wants $1 billion. So that she can run around to the other side of the world and hide from the Nine. Unfortunately, Coil doesn't want to give her $1 billion, and it is pointed out to her that she's kind of at a disadvantage since she is dying. And Cherish tells them that Bonesaw fixed her up, mesh sheaths for every major artery and organ, wire reinforcement for her skeleton, and it turns out there's an auto-injection pump that's dosing her with painkillers and antibiotics.
Nice.
Yeah, really classy. Okay, Trickster points out that he could still kill her, and Cherish basically is trying to stall them. She talks to Tattletale about, like, pitting their powers against each other, but Tattletale points out, like, we need to rescue Gru sooner rather than later. Longer we wait, the worse our position. And our villain heroes start talking about what can we do with Cherish. Cherish keeps trying to cut in on the conversation with, first she's kind of going after Tattletale, talking about her backstory, which we should discuss. The others kind of just ignore her, and Taylor proposes, what if we tie Cherish to a buoy and put her out to sea? It's not like there'll be boats going by, she'll be out of range, we can sedate her to get her out there. There's a moment with a soldier named Fish, who seems to be very friendly with Tattletale, which we should also talk about. And then Tattletale turns her power on Cherish. Cherish is like, without my cooperation, you'll never find Imp and Gru. And Tattletale's like, okay, so you're planning on meeting with Imp afternoon, evening? And Cherish, like, starts to say, basically refusing to talk, and Tattletale's like, okay, late afternoon, thanks. And it keeps going like that. Tattletale figures out that Cherish is supposed to meet Imp downtown around 6, somewhere where Cherish can kind of duck out from where the Nine are staying, so a bathroom. And in response to Tattletale figuring out all this information, basically taking Cherish's bargaining chips away, Tattletale observes that Cherish is considering whether she can start using her power in a way that will make them gun her down, because that would be better than having them turn her over to the Nine. So Tattletale proposes that they set up something like the dead man's switch on Cherish's suicide collar, where there's a soldier near her, and they'll schedule it so the soldier receives a note from the Unravelers every 15 minutes, and if he doesn't get it, he'll pass a message to the Nine telling them exactly where to find Cherish. And she asks Trickster to have Oliver handle getting a message to the Nine without having them kill the messenger. Intriguing. We don't know if that's a power-related thing or not. So Coil's basically like, great, we'll secure her offshore. Tattletale, can you get the rest of the details from her first? And Cherish starts picking on Trickster, saying like, Trickster is a scared little boy pretending to be a leader. It's his fault. She blames you. Everyone does. They're even starting to hate you. And at this point, Taylor's like, can we just get her out of earshot? And Cherish says to Taylor, you failed. Basically, she's read Taylor's fixation on Dinah. She's like, I've read what's in Coil's head, everyone else in the base. The window of opportunity is long gone. Taylor starts physically attacking her, just kind of, it seems like hurting her for the sake of hurting her and or shutting her up. Coil says her name, doesn't really stop her, but Taylor's like, we'll talk about it later. Priorities grew, kicks Cherish in the head again, and then stops. So as Cherish is carted off, she yells at everyone, your boss is screwing you. He has all the pieces in place, he's about to make the final move, and then he won't need you anymore. Coil says she's just sowing dissension in the ranks. Trickster's like, she could be lying. And Tattletale says she is, mostly. But whether or not everyone believes that, they kind of have to keep going. Taylor thinks a little bit about how terrible it is to have Gru in the hands of the Nine, how daunting this is, and says, we'll need help. There was one group at the meeting that didn't agree to the pact. She asks Coil for surveillance gear, and she and Trickster go off to talk to the Protectorate.
Ooh.
Taylor thinks a little bit about, like, was what Cherish said about Trickster true? He's the most ruthless of his team, but what could he have done? She doesn't bring it up, though she thinks about it. They end up in a building near PHQ. Trickster swaps the doorknob of a locked apartment so they can get in. And Taylor sets up a swarm carrying a camera and a microphone and practices a little having the swarm talk for her. Kind of works. It's imperfect. But she sends this swarm over to PHQ. And she and Trickster watch the video feed on a laptop. 6.5 minutes later, the Protectorate comes out to confront her. She's a little concerned about how slow they are to respond. We got Weld, Kidwin, Clockblocker, Miss Militia, Battery, and Legend, plus 3 capes Taylor doesn't recognize, so potentially Legend's team. And Skitter and Miss Militia have a conversation that Legend ends up joining in on. So Taylor, as a swarm, says they have Shatterbird and Cherish. They will deliver Cherish to the Protectorate if they want, in exchange for help attacking the Nine and rescuing Gru. And Miss Militia's like, okay, so you want us to fight the Nine and alongside notorious villains? And she says she's not arms master. She doesn't have a stake in personal glory. She tells Skitter to go ahead and kill Cherish. There's a kill order on the Nine. No one's going to charge her with murder. And Skitter's like, no, work with us. It's the best way to stop the Nine. Miss Militia says that it is reckless. She would be throwing away the lives of her people. And they're going to attack them, but they're going to take time, develop their own strategies and plan, find a safe way to target them. Good luck with that. Apparently, they have fought, like the Protectorate in general has fought the Nine before using the same strategies they use against Endbringers. And sometimes they get one of them, sometimes they get 3 or 4, but they always lose lots of people in the process, and the rest always escape, which gives the Nine extra notoriety that they can bounce back after an attack like that. And Skitter's like, yeah, but we've attacked them and succeeded. And you really can't bide your time and organize. That's the kind of attack they expect. He knows about all of your abilities. Anyone who's been with you more than 3 months, Jack / definitely knows everything they can do. The way to attack them is with calculated recklessness. And Miss Militia's like, we can handle that on our own with more calculation and less recklessness. Legend steps in and asks Skitter who she is. He says he's talked to people in her territory. Between that and what came out at the hospital, he's wondering about her motives. Taylor says there's someone specific I want to help. If I can improve the lives of others at the same time, then all the better. He asks her where she is on the sliding scale of good and evil heroes and villains. And she's like, what does that even mean? People have different relationships with the label, hero or villain. Very few people want to see themselves as bad or evil. I've done things I regret, I've done things I'm proud of, and I've walked the roads in between. The sliding scale is a fantasy. There's no simple answers. And he's like, there can be. You could do what's right. And she's like, okay, I see what bitch means about, like, words. She pivots a little and starts saying that, like, the Protectorate can't just hide here like cowards the way they did against the ABB. And she says, I'm going. If you want to talk about morality, start by talking to Armsmaster. And Legend says, can't. He's gone. Apparently he escaped, and the Protectorate is too focused on the Nine to track him down.
Huh.
We don't know if he knows about the Nine's threat to hit the city with a plague if he leaves, so that's a little worrisome. Taylor's also worried because Armsmaster is the closest thing she has to a nemesis, so you don't really want him running around the city. Taylor thinks about having Trickster transport her to the spot where her swarm is talking as kind of a show of trust, risking them arresting her, but she can see how they must see her as this dangerous and ambiguous criminal. She's not willing to trust how they'll behave towards her. She's not sure how she even thinks about herself. She asks them if they're in, and Legend gives the answer that, it's Miss Militia's call, but they've talked about it, and they both agree the risks outweigh the benefits. So Taylor gives them one last tip, which is about the surgery Bonesaw has done on her people, and Legend wishes her luck. You might not believe me, but I wish you the best of luck. So Trickster and Taylor kind of cut off that line of communication. They're like, ugh, what a waste of time. Trickster tries to convince Taylor, like, hey, this could work. We have Shatterbird. We outnumber them. And Taylor's like, they will be ready for us. They have a hostage. 2 of them we can't fight at all. Gru's going to be hard to extricate. And Trickster's like, as long as I can see him, I can get him out. And Taylor's like, yeah, I wouldn't be so sure of that. And Trickster says, would it reassure you to know that your conversation with the local heroes gave me an idea of my own? And he says, come on, we should hurry. And that's the end of the chapter.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, I am not sure I trust Trickster's plan. I think it will be fun and probably somewhat effective, but he's way too optimistic. The Night, I think Taylor has them judged right. They are going to have way more tricks up their sleeve than the Unravelers can anticipate. And anything that the Unravelers can do, they will have thought of a countermeasure to. They're incredibly resourceful. Their powers are so wide-ranging. They're so clever, especially Jack and Bonesaw. And maybe Trickster's thought of something that will help a little bit against them. But I think Taylor's absolutely right to say, we can't count on you being able to just teleport Gru by seeing him, from wherever he is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just that's not how it works.
Yeah, I think optimistic is the right word. We have some reflection from Taylor that, Trickster is ruthless. We have Cherish shouting at him, right? Scared little boy pretending to be a leader. Everyone blames you. She blames you. It's your fault. They're starting to hate you. And we've sort of seen some of that ruthlessness in Trickster. We've seen his weird flourishes when he is, kind of not acting as efficiently as possible. But I was really struck in this last page where Taylor comes away from this conversation so angry. Mm-hmm. And she's going back to that despondent place where she's like, well, there's no hope. And Trickster's like, no, don't worry about it. It's not hopeless. Whatever's going on, if I can see him, I can free him. It's such a pure statement of optimism. It really strikes me as maybe there's something there with his power as this idea, I can just change a few things and it'll all work out. Sort
of the flexibility of the situation. Yeah, I actually think what's going on in this scene is mostly he is sort of seesawing from Taylor's pessimism. Mm-hmm. I think her hopelessness, he only has kind of one stance remaining to him, which is to provide some hope. And partly that's a narrative thing, you need the contrast in the conversation. But I think partly that's how people actually are in real life. One thing, this is a little bit random, but I think it was the How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk. Maybe that's not the source, but if, you have your kid, your older kid is struggling with something and you try to take an encouraging stance, you might actually, if they can kind of see both sides, if you are speaking for the encouragement side, that might push them towards the discouragement side because that's the only conversational place open to them. Mm-hmm. And I think that sort of conversational dynamic is what's happening here. It's less about Trickster just being naturally optimistic and more about Taylor is very pessimistic, and so that's the only position open to him.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I do think we do see, like, Cherish's description of him. I think Scared Little Boy is absolutely correct. His team is in so far over their heads, and they're very uncomfortable with what they're doing in a way that most of the Undersiders are not. Like, the Travelers seem to be much less ruthless than the Undersiders, and they are much more desperate and are here because they have to be, because of whatever is going on with Noelle. I think that the part about everyone blames you and they're starting to hate you, that's what Trickster is afraid of. Mm-hmm. I see no reason to think that that would be true. Mm-hmm. That's just, she's picking up on that fear, and she knows that's a way to hurt him.
Right. Tattletale says she's lying, mostly, which I take as kind of a lens to view all of her little statements throughout the chapter, is that it's more about manipulation than it is about actually delivering exposition. So I like that reading, that it's true, but it's also just playing into his fears. I was wondering if Trickster is always this optimistic, if maybe there's a little bit of that first scene with Weld, where he gets in front of the wards and is like, well, let's put our heads together, we're going to do some extra training, and they're all just like, what are you even talking about? And so if Trickster is like, well, don't worry, once I can see it, I can fix it, if that might
be frustrating to the rest of the team.
Be frustrating over time. But we don't know enough.
I don't see any reason to think that's his personality.
Yeah.
I remember when he is about to go into the vault with Noelle, he's like, I can't go until I know what the odds are of her killing all of us. I don't think that's someone who's unreasonably optimistic. I do see that sort of caution and realism in him.
But is he leading Noelle on with a performance of optimism, even if he doesn't feel it?
Well, that's probably true, because
himself.
What the heck else do you do?
Yeah.
That's what he asked Tattletale to do with her. Yeah. Speaking of Tattletale, really interesting comparisons between her and Cherish in this chapter.
Oh, yeah.
So there's an extent to which Cherish can do what Tattletale does, even though it's not the strongest part of her power. She can read people and then say things to them that are, their weak spots, that are damaging and hurtful. And then she can also directly manipulate their emotions, which is, the strongest part of what she has. And so she thinks, she says to Tattletale, compared to me, your power is nothing. I have everything you have and more. And then Tattletale proceeds to use her power to get information from Cherish that Cherish would never be able to get. Yeah. And Cherish is clearly so baffled at how it's happening.
Yeah.
Because Cherish reads what's there, probably better than Tattletale can. Her actual perceptions of people have much more information than what Tattletale gets. But Cherish doesn't have a power that fills in the blanks.
Exactly.
And Tattletale's does.
Exactly. Also, if you're going to challenge Tattletale to verbal jousting in this way...
Big mistake.
Don't make her feel stupid while you're doing it, right?
Hey, wasn't that what I said? That's her...
Exactly. The way that Cherish is I have everything you have and more, your power is nothing... That's just going to send Lisa's power into overdrive. Yep. And no wonder she's able to basically read from a few stutters and micro-expressions, incredible detail about
This was definitely an overdrive chapter for Tattletale. Yeah. Based on what we have seen of her power working, in her interlude, the leaps she was making were impressive, even already knowing what her power is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But I bet what Cherish said about her backstory is correct. Sort of this very wealthy upbringing, which does sound right to me. Well,
we did have Lisa saying, oh, my daddy fixed up Taylor in his clinic, but no, you shouldn't offer to pay, what a faux pas, right? So
she's playing a role that maybe was her role.
Right, so there's an interesting...
We also see her, spending hundreds of dollars on clothes every month.
Yeah.
Telling Brian that's what she does.
Yeah. So did that backstory, do anything for you, right? Sort of Cherish spins this story about this girl who has everything and then
still finds a reason to leave.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would make Lisa leave home?
It's a good question. There are a lot of possibilities, obviously. It does seem, some type of abuse seems likely, or maybe it's something that she feels guilty about. Maybe it's something she did wrong. But it's definitely something that made her feel stupid. Mm-hmm. Like, that seems to be her psychological weak point, and which is also her power's strong point.
Yeah. At the very least, right, we've had so many beats of building up the mystery of the travelers, and we get again, right, we had it with Genesis, and we get it again with Trickster, of Taylor being like, what is the deal with the travelers? So it was nice to have Cherish remind us that we don't know Tattletale's origin story yet,
it's
right?
true.
So it's definitely just kind of like threading along these mysteries for us to be able to pick up on them later.
I think Tattletale's the only Undersider where we don't have like a rough sense of her backstory.
That's true.
We know pretty much everything important with Gru, I think. And Imp is, part of that story.
Probably true.
And Alec has kind of told us what happened. Yeah, I feel like we've gotten the gist of it. We don't know what he's done, but we kind of have a general sense. And Tattletale, no.
Yeah, I guess we didn't get a specific trigger event.
No, we don't know.
We just understand his whole...
But
the whole deal with Heartbreaker, whatever the incident was, we can imagine.
And it was probably really minor. His dad's a cape.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have been. Although he didn't want to talk about it. But that might have been because he didn't want to talk about his backstory in general.
Yeah. So, pivoting from Tattletale back to Cherish, what is she doing in this chapter? Like, specifically, when she starts goading Tattletale, like, what's she trying to do? Like, Tattletale is always trying to push buttons to get more information, so she can push more buttons, so she can get more information. Right, but like, it's very purposeful. And I'm wondering, if Cherish uses her power in this chapter, it's only in a very subtle way.
Yep.
And what is she doing targeting Tattletale? And then she goes on to go after Trickster. She goes after Skitter. Finally, she's being dragged away. She goes after Coil. Like, what is she trying to do with those attacks? And, like, how does it fit into her overall goals?
That's a good question. What Tattletale says about it is that she's trying to stall, which there probably is some element of that. If she can get them going on something irrelevant, then... I mean, she doesn't think she is going to bleed out, and it will make them more desperate about going after Gru, and just having them sort of destabilized could give her an edge. She can't use her main power in a strong way because, I mean, unless she does decide to do the sort of suicide by cop, as Lisa calls it, of like getting them to kill her. And so I think this is... probably in part a way to feel in control of the conversation for her. Like, she wants to be setting the emotional terms. That's what she does. She always sets the emotional terms. And in this case, to do so overtly would be to be killed. So she has this sort of... she has to compensate with the conversational method. Right.
But part of Tattletale's suggestion is, like, she would rather die than go back to the 9. Mm-hmm. But she's not... actively choosing death in this chapter, right? She's trying to do something else.
She thinks about it briefly, apparently, according to Tattletale.
Right. But her gambit of like, I know something you guys need to know, about Imp and Gru, but I'm going to stall for as long as possible and I want $1 billion. Like, asking for $1 billion is almost so ridiculous. It seems just like a stalling ploy.
That's a good point.
Like she's
That's
playing.
Not a realistic, Right.
So I'm wondering, what out does she have? Like, is it just that she's completely hopeless in the way that she seemed a little bit in Jack's interlude, and it's like the idea that she could somehow escape from Jack and Bonesaw is so laughably absurd that she's just kind of thrashing around? Or like what is the Cherish strategy here? Maybe she's just kind of a dumbass, and she's like, if she had played it straight, she could have gotten, $10 million and a ticket to China or whatever. But
I think she can read them well enough to know what she's likely to get. Yeah. Maybe, possibly. Yeah. I do think her leverage in this chapter is information. And once she realizes that Lisa can get information from her, so like she's not going to be able to trade her information for the things that she wants as directly, I think maybe what she's trying to do is make it clear to everyone in the room, I have information on all of these people that you might need. Like, not so much that I have information none of you have, but I have information on Tattletale that Skitter doesn't have. I have information on Coil that none of the Unravelers have. Like, this kind of thing where she is trying to make herself valuable to them. Like, they will want to keep her around if they think they can get more insight.
Yeah.
Of course, they can't trust what she says.
Yeah, but it's almost the play of, like, she's just trying to make them all suspicious of each other.
And if they're suspicious of each other, they'll need her information.
Yeah, and it's like, so going after Skitter, for example, Skitter was just feeling kind of like, I pulled off this plan, and, you know, I could ask Coil about Dinah now, but no, it's the wrong time. It's the wrong time, right? She's feeling good. And with just a couple of, you know, jabs, Cherish is able to get Coil to be like, Skitter. And Skitter has to say, we'll talk about that later. I don't care for now. Right? Bringing up this, like, you know, taking subtext and making it text almost in a way that is really destabilizing to Taylor, as we will talk about. But yeah, so she's trying to, I mean, maybe make herself seem super valuable to Skitter, and then realizing, okay, no, I'm not actually affecting how Skitter feels about me, so I'm going to try and undermine Skitter so that Coil likes me. And then it's like, okay, that's not working. I'm being dragged away, so now I'm going to try and get them all to turn on Coil. You know, like, I just want whoever ends up on top to feel like I can help, or to want to come to me later to get information or something like that.
That is real, yeah.
And the irony is, despite everything, even saying, you can't trust Coil, you're all pawns in his game, she gets dragged off, and everybody in the room, the subtext is now text, doesn't change a thing for anybody. Everybody's just kind of like, well, yeah. And then they move on, because they're not stupid. It's the opposite of the thing where Hookwolf comes out at the beginning of the arc and is like, hey, all you guys are planning to overthrow the city. And suddenly, you know, Purity's like, oh my God.
You're
and
right.
Skidmore's
This is the opposite of that.
Oh my God. And it was obvious, right? But they're able to, in the moment, get swept up in this, like, the dramatic reveal.
Right. This wasn't that kind of revelation.
Cherish goes for the same thing, and everybody else is like, yeah.
It might surface thoughts they were already having, but
you're
like,
making
it's
it
not like
awkward,
they didn't know.
but it's not like we didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I do really like that speech she gives at the end as sort of a potential roadmap for this book. It's like, deal with the 9, and then your problem becomes Coil. Which does sort of feel like what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The 9 are this really huge problem. They all have to work together to deal with it, which is a great way to get the Unravelers all working together.
Yeah.
And a great way for Taylor to grow into some of her leadership potential.
Yeah.
And it's sort of leading, this section of the book is leading Taylor to the inevitable conclusion that might otherwise have taken a lot longer to get to, that, like, the only next move is to take down Coil. And even if she thinks she can't win, she has to try.
Yeah. It's also a little bit like, how are you going to feel out Trickster? Now you can just be like, hey, so when Cherish said that thing, you didn't really react. So, like, you see it too, right?
He said she could be lying. It's funny how he didn't say, yeah, I'm sure she's lying. Like,
Exactly. Well, that's just my read of it, is that she's not saying anything. You know, and Coil doesn't care either. He's like, trying to sow...
sowing dissension,
Yeah, sowing dissension, whatever. The same way that he's like, Dinah, the only way that she'll be safe is if nobody ever contacts her. And I'm really looking out for her best interests.
Yes. Yeah, he is very comfortable lying. Was there anything else that she said that we should talk about? I guess Skitter's thing. Yeah. I like how she's like, an obsession like yours is really easy to pick out, which makes sense. Taylor is incredibly obsessed with this Dinah thing, has, like, made it her, North Star. And Cherish says the window of opportunity has closed. And I think that is a lie.
You'll never get what you want. You won't save her. You failed. You can't. All of those are things that she throws at her.
Yeah. Trying to destabilize Skitter, who is one of the most powerful people in the room right now in terms of leadership.
And her ploy works best on Taylor because Taylor loses her temper.
That's true.
And really just lets out some of the good old ultraviolence onto Cherish, prodding her wounds.
Yeah.
She asks if her teeth are reinforced before kicking her in the head. I mean, it's
kind of disturbing.
Yeah, because it's not a great look that she is baited so easily.
Yeah.
It's obviously very upsetting to sort of torture someone who's captive and helpless, right?
Like, and I said last time, there's probably nothing they can do to the Nine that the Nine don't deserve, but there are things they can do to the Nine that might be hurting their own humanity, and this is... I mean, this isn't... Maybe I wouldn't
beating
go so
a prisoner
far.
is, like, never okay. It doesn't matter,
Right, and
it's
for
not
no
related
reason.
to her power in some way. Cherish isn't posing a threat.
It's not even a strategic move. She's just mad.
Yeah.
And we have seen this side of Skitter before. This is kind of what she does against Bitch. Mm-hmm. When Bitch attacked her, and she's like, wait, there's no reason not to lose my temper, so she does. And in this chapter, she doesn't think through that. She doesn't think like, oh, wait, I don't have to keep my temper against Cherish. She just goes ahead and loses it. Maybe she kind of has that calculation in the back of her head that, like, this is one of the Nine. This is fine. I can kick her in the face. But, like...
And, yeah, she has sheaths. She has reinforced teeth.
Right.
She was more worried about sending bugs after Shatterbird because Shatterbird doesn't have a healing factor. And now that she's like, oh, well, now that I've learned that they're reinforced, no holds barred. But she doesn't think about it, right? She doesn't even have a rationalization that we understand for what she does.
Which
commits
doesn't
the
mean
violence.
She doesn't have one. Sometimes we don't see what's in her head.
But even for someone who's very good at letting her thoughts catch up to her emotions, she never has a moment to do that here.
She doesn't seem to feel the need to rationalize it to herself.
Yeah, Coil kind of calls her off.
Yeah.
And she takes a second to step back. And even in doing the violence, right, she first jabs Cherish in her wound. Cherish collapses. And then it says, I stepped back, drew in a slow breath, and then kicked her in the face. It is so deliberate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But we don't get the deliberation.
Yeah. And it makes sense to me that she loses her temper this much, like knowing that she has one. Cherish hurt her really badly. Like the things that Cherish says to her, like really effective provocation. I can see how that kind of, like Taylor is feeling hurt and is taking it out on the person who hurt her.
Yeah.
It's a very understandable impulse. Yeah, like you said, not a good look. And she doesn't reflect on it, but she does think later about how do the heroes see her? Do they see her as this sort of morally gray figure, this like person who's attempting to do good on the wrong side of the law? Do they just see her as, someone who's done all these despicable things and she doesn't know how to see herself?
Yeah. It's a little bit like what's at stake for Taylor if Cherish is right. Taylor has built so much on top of this is what I have to do to save this girl.
Yeah.
And has built so much else on top of like, well, I did all these bad things and this girl got hurt, but maybe those bad things are forgivable if I save her. Right? Mm-hmm. Sort of leading up to Dinah and since Dinah. It's all kind of going through her. And maybe this is a glimpse of what Skitter and Taylor would be like without that. A little bit of like the Taylor that she was worried she would become if she let loose on the bullies back in Arc 1. The kind of like, well, I have to never, ever let myself go because of how out of control things could get. And this is just a little bit of uncontrolled Taylor.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. The way that I see it is like, Dinah is absolutely, she's a talisman, she's a MacGuffin, she's a symbol. Rescuing Dinah, I mean, of course it matters the same way that the people that Jack was mowing down in the street matter. But it is such a tiny thing compared to what Coil is preparing to do to the city. And Taylor's growth arc needs to be growing beyond this obsession with Dinah. She set her up as like representative of everything when it's completely disproportionate, and it is something that is propping her up in this time of like working with Coil, but she's gonna have to grow beyond it, and she's going to have to let it go. Whether or not Dinah actually gets saved, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant, because the important thing is you can't let Coil, the person who does this kind of thing, take over your city, and she's going to have to recognize that. And I think that Cherish saying this and Taylor hearing this, whether or not it's true, is going to be an important stepping stone in her eventually having to burst out of this Dinah cocoon as a beautiful Coil-destroying butterfly.
You know, sometimes you say a thing and I just want to manifest it. That's great. Let's get to that next chapter.
I mean, I think we'll get to that in a few arcs, many arcs.
Could be. So I want to jump just very on this point to the conversation at the end of the chapter, because she's presented with kind of this bid to the heroes, which we can get into sort of her tactics and kind of how they respond and how she's feeling about it. But one of the things that happens is Legend starts being like, who are you, Skitter? Like, who are you really?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know, man. Like, what a dumb question, right? But then towards the end of it, she thinks to herself, like, but I can't even answer it for myself. And this is one of the things that we know that she struggles most to do, is like sit with her identity. She wanted to be a hero. She admitted that she was a supervillain. Now she's sort of embraced villainy, but what does that all even mean, right? Mm-hmm. It's a very conflicting thing, and she still doesn't want her dad to know, right? So there's still that part of her that instinctively knows that, like, what she's doing is bad in some messy way. Mm-hmm. And when she is first responding to Legend being like, but you know, your motivations, like, what are they? What she says is, there's somebody specific I want to help. And if I help other people along the way, great. Which is a reiteration of her obsession about Dinah, right? It's kind of like, well, I need to save Dinah and whatever about the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, because it's such a funny statement. Like, you'd think it would be like, oh, well, it's her sibling, it's her family member, it's her childhood best friend. I mean, she's a child, so it's her best friend, you know. It's someone maybe they think it's Gru. Like, and in fact, it's someone completely random who she set up as the pinnacle of, like, all moral goods, like rescuing this one girl who she does not know.
That is a good point, that they're just going to think it's Gru. And it could be a little bit of cleverness on her part, where she's like, well, I'm going to say something that's true that can be intentionally misinterpreted. But of course, it is also true about Gru. The whole thing that she's doing in her bid to the heroes is saying, hey, I need help saving my friend, and failing to actually, you know, offer or connect the dots beyond that, and kind of getting mad when the heroes don't immediately jump on board.
I was so annoyed because I felt like maybe it wouldn't have been a winning move, but she had what I felt like would be a winning move.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's get into it.
Where she's saying the sliding scale is a fantasy. There are no simple answers. There can be, says Legend. You could do what's right. And I was like, oh, I think at this point, maybe I like looked up from the book or something. I was tidying up the living room. And I was like, oh, what she should say to that is, I'm going to do what's right. Will you help me? And like putting it that way is like, yes, I want to do what's right. And it's this. You guys, the heroes, you all can help me do it. Will you step forward to help me with this thing that you were just telling me that I should do? Like, I feel like that would have really appealed to them. And instead she like gets mad and goes on about like, you want to hide here while we deal with the 9, you know. She like let go that moment of framing this task as something so in line with what they want. Yeah. I was like, yeah, it's true. She's not very good at this.
Yeah. And it's funny. I think you're absolutely right. And I feel like on the one hand, right? So Legend comes across as so annoying in this scene because his whole like shtick seems like saying you could do what's right, you know, your interrogation, you're talking about torture, you know, who are you, right? It's this very like performative, almost pretentious posturing thing that it feels very off topic from a nuts and bolts, like, let's come up with some kind of deal. Like, I want to find the win-win, the mutually beneficial arrangement. And Legend is like, but we need to know the nature of your soul, Skitter. Like, that's what's hanging in the balance. And, even at the end, they're right, like, you might not believe me, but I wish you good luck, right? It's not as cocky and, like, smarmy as Armsmaster, but it is kind of in this, like, elevated register of, like, he's being a superhero from, like, a different genre of story. And it's so annoying.
Do you know what I keep hearing when he's like, but who are you? Did you ever watch the Arthur show?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember Bionic Bunny, the superhero? Yeah, the fictional superhero in, like, the cartoons they watch. At the end of the cartoon, he would always have saved someone, and then there would be, like, a woman who'd say, but who are you, really? And he'd say, I'm just a citizen trying to do what's right, and then he'd, like, blast off, and the woman would be like, oh, he's so dreamy.
Yeah, well,
This is the question I was hearing, but who are you, really?
But you're absolutely right that for Legend, if Taylor's goal was to win over Legend, she could have stepped up to that higher register and been like, you think you know me, but, and sort of like spieled out.
I'm trying to save this city.
Right.
Will you join me?
And he, in my headcanon, has already, like, been hoping to recruit her, like pull
absolutely.
a madcap, right? So he's like, he's probably even looking for an opening.
I forgot about the fact that he has now canonically been like, oh, a villain who wants to join with no other proof or, like, restitution? Yeah, come on board.
Right, so it's a total missed opportunity there. But I also love that observation because I do think that for our wonderful, awkward, authentic, and kind of an oversharing way, Taylor.
That's right. She can only be herself.
She would feel like she was lying.
Oh, yeah.
If she stepped into that elevated register and was like, but I was good all along, and I am helping this to heal the city, and, like, and she would worry about how that would impact Trickster sitting next to her and her, like, other friends and allies, and, like, there's some comfort in the story of cops and robbers that it would be so vulnerable to jump from that story into Legend's story. And, like, I just don't think she has it in her to authentically make that leap in this moment.
I think that's true. There's also something I recognize in Taylor that I feel in myself where, like, if you're someone who has high standards for yourself and you feel like in this context you're not meeting them, then there's an impulse to own that.
Yeah.
Before anyone else notices, even if they wouldn't notice, even if you'd do much better by pretending it weren't true.
Yeah.
Even if it's kind of not even true and you're exaggerating it because you see your own failures as bigger than they are. Like, it's very much the opposite of how Tattletale would act, which is she would gloss over it in a way that would set her up for success. And Taylor, I think, would feel like if she claimed one iota more than the worst possible version of herself in describing herself, that someone would notice and they would think she was hollow and fake and they would see right through everything and it would all come crashing down.
Yeah.
Yes, she is absolutely not someone who has any kind of bravado with regard to, like, how she talks about herself. She does have a lot of bravado when it comes to, like, her plans and stuff.
Right.
But she is not at all willing to talk herself up, even when it's merited. I mean, we saw that when she took down Mannequin. She's like, I don't know, I mean, he wasn't that tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
The heroes here, they're fairly predictable. They're pretty annoying. I understand where Miss Militia is coming from, especially in the wake of Armsmaster having done this morally questionable and very bold move, kind of this big swing at victory that didn't work, got him completely disgraced. Of course, she is setting herself up in opposition to that and saying, like, no, and this is, what we've seen of her personality too. She's like, no, we're going to do a reasonable plan. The problem is that kind of what she says is, we've tried fighting them in the past. It kind of works a little, but we lose a lot of people and they just bounce back. And then she's like, but we will come up with a plan. I'm like, will you really, though?
Yeah.
Like, if you think that your only plans fail, like, are you really going to do anything? It doesn't sound like you are.
Yeah, right. She says, I refused Hook Wolf when he made the same offer, and I'm going to refuse you. The Capes on my teams are good people. I won't throw away their lives with a reckless attack. But she'll throw away their lives on a cautious attack that is sure to result in heavier casualties. Because again, it's not like in taking out Cherish and Shatterbird, Taylor has done unprecedented damage to the 9. But taking out Cherish and Shatterbird and losing only one cape in the process does seem to be an incredible track record.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think Miss Militia can have it both ways.
Yeah.
But I do think that she is correctly calling out Taylor here in saying, like, yeah, you're here saying you attacked recklessly and your teammate was captured. That's what normal. I don't want, right? Like, and I care about my teammates more than you did in your plan, right? Like, you were willing to gamble all their lives away. I'm not willing to gamble. And maybe the unspoken thing there is that they will probably do nothing, because if there is no non-reckless plan, then that means they do nothing. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
But maybe, you know, that's kind of where she's coming from in this conversation.
I mean, I think there are a couple things going on. One is just that lines of caution are in different places for different people. Like, I'm remembering the last chapter, Taylor standing in the street and watching Jack just slash down people and thinking, I want to stop him, but, I mean, that would be suicide. I have to follow the much more reasonable plan.
Yeah.
That's sort of where her line of caution is. I think it was a smart one. She's not going to run off half-cocked. But for Miss Militia, going in as part of this plan would be that sort of running in unprepared. You know, it's a level of risk that she's not comfortable with.
Yeah.
So, like, to that extent, like, okay, I get it. But it also kind of feels like what she's saying is, the Capes on my team are good people. I don't want to spend them fighting the 9. I want to let all the villains do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of what it feels like to me. I mean, it's a little bit what Coil was doing or trying to do on that island, where he was like, no, we can put those people in a hotel room until it's over. Yes, let's do that. My people don't need to fight the 9. Other people can fight the 9. Great plan.
Yeah.
This thing where she's like, no, we'll do it in a safe way. I'm like, no, you're kidding yourself. Like, what the heck is a safe way to fight the 9?
There's also her argument about notoriety. Like, well, when the Protectorate tries and attacks and then the 9 bounce back, it makes the Protectorate look bad. And I don't care if the Unravelers and the Chosen look bad.
Right. What she was saying is it makes the 9 look good in a way that's damaging. But it does. I mean, there's that unspoken. It makes the Protectorate look bad.
Yeah.
I think there's also just such a weight of bureaucracy and, like, being the representative of something that's weighing on her and on Legend here. They are standing in for a massive organization that can't move fast the way the Unravelers and Coil can.
Yeah.
Like, what Taylor was saying a couple chapters ago about, like, no, we have these advantages that we can use, is really correct.
Yeah.
And they proved it. They had a really successful attack. As she has said, they're much worse set up to do this specific attack. But it is hard to imagine Miss Militia and Legend being willing to move that quickly with all of the weight that is on them. And that's the real disadvantage of the Protectorate.
I also think, like, Legend as this guy flying in from another story and pontificating about right and wrong, he has stepped into the authority vacuum over Miss Militia in this way. That means that she's going to default to how she was acting under Armsmaster as well. She's very used to being a tool in the hands of the Protectorate. And while at the beginning of the chapter, I feel like she is doing a good job at being direct with Skitter, being open, like hearing her out. But
and that's kind of what we've seen from her.
With Legend here, she will never change, right? She is going to continue to play that role. If
she were going to take a risk, it wouldn't be when Legend was present.
Exactly. So even though he's not playing the game, by being in town, it's sort of the Legend show by default, because he's one of the top 3. I was really interested, though, in the kill order concept that Miss Militia lays out. Because she's basically like, look, I'm not Armsmaster, but I'm going to be straight with you. You can kill her.
Uh-huh.
Right? Like, you're not going to be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know if, like, society at large is kind of, like, in on the kill on sight rules or not, right? Or if that's just more of, like, a protectorate thing. So, like, is this something that she's sort of revealing as, like,
I don't know. It's a good question.
We wouldn't hold this
prosecute,
against you,
yeah.
but it is a little bit like the unwritten rules are already only for some capes, right? And to the extent that the Unravelers were like, should we kill them? Should we not kill them? You know, they've been hemming and hawing about what it would mean to kill a member of the Slaughterhouse Nine. Yeah. It's kind of funny
Protectorate's already decided they can.
The current head of the Protectorate of Bruckton Bay being like,
no, you can kill them.
You can kill them. Yeah, confirmed. Go right ahead.
I do understand the practical use of that. Like, if the Protectorate members in general are not allowed to kill people without, like, a lot of oversight, a lot of red tape, that kind of thing. Like, if some capes are so dangerous that, like, you can only ever kill them by a really lucky chance, you got to kind of empower people to take that luck when it presents itself.
Yeah, and the acceptable targets notion. It's just a little bit of like, yeah, the Nine have clearly crossed over into this area where
right.
no one cares about justice.
So I also wanted to talk about Armsmaster escaped.
Yeah.
I didn't even, like, the timeline in Armsmaster is very confusing to me because I kind of thought he was, like, unconscious for weeks, but apparently it was very brief.
Days,
He's
though.
up. Yeah, it's been several days.
Yeah.
I've lost track a little bit. But he is loose, free, possibly, I mean, presumably not fleeing the city. Though, if he does flee the city and they're like, time to destroy stuff, like, that could be a fun escalation of an ongoing battle if we're kind of at that point. But
how do you feel about that narrative possibility that just off screen, you know, Armsmaster leaves and then Cherish is like, hey guys, Armsmaster isn't here anymore. And then, you know, stuff escalates.
Yeah, it feels like it would be ruining sort of what we've set up, but I could see it being a good escalation if we're already sort of at an all-out battle point and Jack's like, oh, time to make the city our collateral damage, and then that just, like, ups the stakes a little bit, makes it messier. Barring that, like, I don't think it's super likely to happen. I also expect Armsmaster will be involved in what happens, you know, coming down the pike. Also, if Armsmaster is involved, that means Dragon's involved. Because they're BFFs/lovers now. And I am very excited for Dragon to be on the scene. I mean, what a person to have in your corner. Weren't we just talking about how they don't have a tinker? And I mean, Dragon's not a tinker, but effectively she has tinker-like abilities. And that could be really, really useful at this time when they need everything they've got. And while she's bound by law, I don't think she's bound by the will of the Protectorate, especially if she's partnered with Colin, who maybe is, you know, not exactly working with, I mean, clearly not working with the Protectorate right now, is, you know, has gone rogue in some ways, I think. And she is interested in reaching out to Taylor, although she doesn't remember that, but she is interested. She doesn't remember having promised. So, you know, that she could end up on their side, could be fun. Taylor is worried because Armsmaster is, like, kind of her nemesis, but, like, I don't think he's gonna care that much about that when, like, faced with the Slaughterhouse Nine. Like, there's no, you know, trust between them, but I don't think he's gonna be like, time to destroy Skitter. Like, no, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah. I love the speculation. It's funny that you mentioned the trust thing. I also feel like Taylor's just so oblivious that she has a trust problem in this chapter. Like, Ms. Militia at one point is like, so we'd be putting our lives in your hands. And Skitter's like, only as far as we'd be relying on you. You know, she's like trying to minimize it.
Only as far
like,
as we'd be relying on you. I think it's like reciprocal is what she's pointing out.
Yeah. But it's so funny, you know.
But I think Dragon has more reason than most to trust Taylor and more information.
Yeah.
I bet also we know that she was able to hack into, like, security cameras and stuff. They're using surveillance equipment for this conversation. She probably listened to the conversation.
Oh,
so I would not be
She's in Coil's
surprised.
satellite network.
Exactly. She probably is. Why not? It's Dragon. I would not be surprised if she knows about this attempt by Skitter and co. to work with the heroes. And, I mean, I don't know that she would necessarily come forward immediately to help, but, like, I don't think that's off the table, and I don't think her joining them to help later, down the line is off the table either.
Yeah. One thing that I'm curious about is sort of, because the timeline is so ambiguous, like, what is the impetus for it? Is it like, as soon as he woke up, Dragon confesses and they hatch an escape plan together? Is it like Colin's somehow escaped from Dragon and she's chasing him down? Is it triggered by, like, when Miss Militia comes back and is like, hey, that thing about, like, ending the world or whatever, that's kind of, like, legit. Like, is that the thing that makes him sit up in bed? I'm really curious.
That's a really good point.
Or maybe he doesn't know because he escaped before that meeting, right? Like, Possibly. It could go either way.
I mean, you're right. You laid out some really excellent possibilities. I wouldn't be surprised if... I mean, first of all, he could just have escaped because, like, oh, the 9 are all going to be testing me. I don't want to hang around here in this very obvious hospital bed and trust to the protection of the PRT to...
Yeah. It's almost heroic to not make the PRT building a target.
Yes, true. I mean, fair. But he is... I wonder if he's, like, lost his hubris in this regard a little bit, but this idea of, like, oh, Jack is gonna destroy the world, like, I need to kill him. I wonder if...
How is that not the hubris? Because that's kind of like, oh, they'll forgive me for all my bad things.
No. What I'm saying is maybe he's lost the hubris that would make him say that.
Oh, I see. Yes.
But the arms master who went after Leviathan like that could also say this.
Go after Jack like
and
that.
It could... Yeah. I don't know... Maybe he would think, like, if I kill Jack, I'll be back in glory or something. I don't think that would work, and I think he's smart enough to know that wouldn't work, because it's not as obviously game-changing as killing an Endbringer would be. Yeah. Like, the public wouldn't be like, you killed Jack Slash and saved the world. Like, no one knows about the prophecy. So I don't know if he thinks it would get him back in the Protector of Good books, but I think he cares enough about doing the good things for their own sake. Like, he doesn't just care about his own glory. He also cares about feeling like he did cool, glorious, heroic stuff. And I think this would push that hero button for him.
Yeah.
And Dragon would certainly care about the prophecy. Like, Dragon would be like, oh, okay, gotta figure out a way to kill Jack Slash. And, like, Colin is her obvious ally in that.
Yeah.
And her, feet on the ground, etc.
Yeah.
She gave him her body parts, so now she doesn't have a body there, and so he'd better help.
Yeah. I also want your take on whether this implies anything about Dragon's current status vis-a-vis her restraints. Is it plausible to you...
Oh, you think that Colin already set her free?
Is it plausible to you that Colin can escape without Dragon being able to do illegal stuff as a prerequisite?
Oh!
That's kind of what I was getting at by
that's a good point. I forgot
Colin escaped
about
and
that.
Dragon is chasing him down thing. Because the alternative, if they did collaborate, does that mean he's already done it? Like, is there a loophole, right? Like, maybe it's all misinformation, right? Like, it's...
No, that's a good point. It could be that... she was able to find some sort of legal loophole or some way in which it wasn't her responsibility to keep him imprisoned in this hospital. I don't know.
She could leave the keys,
Right, or she could figure out a way to turn a blind eye in a way that doesn't violate her programming. I'd forgotten that she couldn't, just help him defy the law in an obvious way. It seems like a stretch to me to imagine that Colin, from his hospital bed, already managed to hack Dragon's programming when we know that she would have to resist.
Yeah.
So it's possible he works really fast, but that seems a low probability to me. So you're right that if he's out, they probably can't be working directly together, even if she wanted him to escape and just sort of let it happen in some way that she's capable of. But yeah, I guess she can't have actively colluded in his escape, even if it would be, like you said, a plausibly heroic thing to get him out of PRT headquarters.
It's very tantalizing.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he's just already hacked her. That sounds fun. Like I said, I don't know how that would have happened, but
yeah,
I'd be here for it.
It's going back to this chapter, speaking more about, like, trust and the heroes and stuff. Taylor considers going down in person at one point. I could tell them I was putting my well-being in their hands, risking them arresting me as a gesture of good faith. And I'm curious, do you think that Taylor putting herself at their mercy would have helped?
No. I think they would have arrested her.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say. It's possible they'd be like, this is part of the, parlay that we were doing on the Isle. And maybe this is sort of an extension of that kind of meeting. So, not cool to arrest her there. But I do think that if they'd tried to arrest her, Trickster would have just swapped her, so they wouldn't have succeeded. But it's possible they would have tried to take her into custody.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, right? I feel like there's no way it would have helped in the short term. The only thing that maybe it would have, it would have gratified Legend. And he might have been like, now I see your true character, Skitter. Well done.
That's possible, yeah.
But then of course, if Legend is like reaching out to pat her on the shoulder and she suddenly gets warped out of there by Trickster, then of course he's going to be convinced that she's the worst, most evil villain of all time.
Yeah. Oh, have we talked about her bug voice yet?
No.
Oh my gosh, so cool.
Yeah, she's tinkering again. It's incredible, even out of combat.
Yeah, just constantly coming up with new ways to use these bugs of hers.
It's incredible.
I'm still waiting on Flight. She seems to think it's impossible, but get enough bugs holding spider silk?
Yeah, it's so cool. And I love that she sort of acknowledges, I'd gone this route for the dramatic touch. And because I hadn't wanted them to trace us.
It's a little bit trickstery of her.
She's just like
she has some flair.
Exactly. She's doing it because she can, right? Yeah.
But it is funny. It's a dramatic touch. But I think there is something to what she was saying about, just going back a conversation topic. What if I went there in person? Would that help? I wonder if she had shown up in person in the first place, if it had been a human voice talking to them.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would have changed anything, but certainly that's the wrong kind of optics to go for with the Protectorate. I'm going to remind you how creepy a bug lady I am is not really the way to go.
Well, it invites the question about how do you build trust across these kinds of lines and given the betrayal and the great reason that she has to distrust them based on Armsmaster, right? Miss Militia feels the need to go out of her way and be like, I'm no Armsmaster, but, right.
And Legend is like, we can't speak to the failures of Armsmaster's leadership.
But Taylor goes out of her way here, because she is wisely cautious, needlessly paranoid, whatever. She actually doesn't put her body on the line in this instance. And
she has bugs carry a camera and a mic, which is so cool.
Right, but that thing that she and Bitch have of I'll turn my back to you so you can stab a knife into it. That's how we're going to know that we can trust each other. Yeah. Right? She doesn't have that with the heroes. And it shows. And she's not willing to sort of open herself up to, a trick or a trap.
And it's so sad. She would have had that with the heroes if Armsmaster hadn't let her down so badly. That's what she had with Armsmaster at the beginning. Yeah. She let him in on her plan.
And it's also a little bit with Bitch, it's not necessarily more rational. At this point, Bitch has really proven herself to her. But a lot of that is Taylor is so emotionally invested and no, I want you to be my friend.
I will make this work.
Right. Yeah. And she doesn't quite feel the same way about the heroes and villains working together that she does about her and Bitch working together. Right. When it comes to the heroes and villains working together, she gets pushed a little bit and she's like, but civilians will die, which is it's so childish. Right, she's thinking about Gru in her head, but it's so inauthentic, right? She's on the back foot, she needs help, and instead of saying, I'm coming to you because, I really want help, please listen to me, right? That's what she should be doing authentically, and she's kind of, stamping her foot and being like, oh, just do it. Just do it already.
Yeah, but I feel also a villain appealing to the heroes to be I need help to rescue my fellow villain. I don't think she feels like she has a leg to stand on there, and I think she's right. They'll be well, you guys made your beds.
Yeah.
I think saying, we can help you take down the Slaughterhouse 9, we can help each other is really, kind of the only way to do it. You're right that she sort of loses it Like that thing I was saying where, like, you gotta point out that this is the right thing and they can help you do it.
Taylor is rarely missing a winning move because of her emotions, but I feel like she misses the, like, some of the strategic opportunities because of her emotions, right? Like, I'm not saying that if only she had said the right words, it would have created this amazing alliance or whatever, but her expectations should be, oh, I'm going into this and this is the logical response. So she should expect it instead of kind of throwing a tantrum about it.
Yeah.
And she should be prepared. And if there's no way that she can believe that it will work, then it is a waste of time, which is the conclusion she comes to at the end.
I mean, really, Tattletale was the person to send. Though, actually, I think Tattletale doesn't have as much credibility with the heroes as Skitter. But Tattletale is good at figuring out what leverage she can hold over people and what will move them.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before. Like, Taylor just isn't good at that.
Yeah.
Like, she can present her real, authentic self. And sometimes, like, eventually that is usually compelling to people because her motives are pretty good. And once people see that they're real, you know, they're usually on her side. But she's not good at manipulation.
Her emotions are getting in the way here because here's her winning play, right? She comes and she says, like, well, you have to help us. It is logical. And they're like, actually, it's not. And she's thinking, but I need to save Gru, but I need to save these people. And like, I don't have a lever to pull. And she gets stuck and she's feeling guilty and she's feeling like she's not enough.
Yeah.
But when she says, we win by catching them off guard with powers they don't know about, powers they can't expect, and interactions between powers, calculated recklessness. That is the wrong sales pitch. It is not. You don't go to them and you say recklessness. You go to them and you say, I'm a friggin' genius. I am the best in the business at this. We just took out 2 of the Slaughterhouse 9 and we lost 1 cape. And I have a bunch of crazy villain powers here that you don't know about. And I have a million ideas, right? Like, get me, like sit across a table from me. Let's brainstorm. We'll get Tattletale on the case. Like, we are actually the best, right? And Taylor doesn't feel that about herself.
Yeah, she needs to have a little more bravado.
What she did in the strategy with the last chapter is, I feel, genuinely impressive.
Yeah.
And like,
Tattletale... It's the thing where she refuses to talk herself up or even believe good things about herself.
Tattletale says, oh, she'd be better at using my power. She immediately came up with a genius way to use Genesis's power, right? So like, really, like, the rational pitch here is not like, civilians will die.
Yeah, but Taylor would never make that
The rational pitch is like, hey, now that I have something I need help with, you can extract from me whatever tactical victories you want, right?
Yeah.
You know, like...
She needs the confidence of a mediocre white middle-aged superhero.
Yes. The confidence of a madcap. And because Legend is desperate, right? It's like, oh, you know, like whatever thing you can do to spin it. Like, Taylor doesn't care about the spin. She's just like, save my friend, and I'll help you kill, you know, Jack Slash or whatever.
She's not a spinner, unlike her spiders.
There's a little bit of it, though, because when Miss Militia's like, you'd have us fight alongside notorious villains, she's like, notorious? Like, well, I can't let that distract me, you know, which you could read as like, oh no, they think I'm notorious, but I think is kind of like, oh yeah, like, I'm bad. While we're talking about Taylor in this scene, right, when she kind of gets pulled into Legend's Are You Good or Bad thing, one, she laughs it off, and then the bugs laugh, and that's like super creepy, which I love.
She's like, oh, that's a bad sound. Stop it.
So I love that she's a little bit aware of outside Taylor in that moment of like, don't do the supervillain laugh. But then what she says is like, some of us wear the villain label with pride because they want to rebel against the norms, because it's a harder, more rewarding road to travel, or because being a hero often means so very little.
Yeah, it's also not a great sales pitch.
Yeah. I've done things I regret, I've done things I'm proud of, and I've walked the road in between. This feels like so much like posturing, almost like trying to be Tattletale. Like, it's very unwritten rulesy. Like, I
don't know, I feel like she's telling the truth. Like, it feels authentic to me.
Rebellion and reward?
Well,
like,
not hers. I think she's talking about other people.
I see. That's how
I interpreted it.
So she can't be authentic, so she's just parroting Lisa.
I thought she was sort of doing there are different reasons that people are villains. Maybe she was maybe she was purportedly talking about herself, in which case I don't think she's being authentic.
Yeah,
I mean, she's just kind of...
That's where she starts, but, she goes into it by saying, well, there's someone specific I want to help. Yeah, so, I mean, maybe it's all just for legend. It jumped out to me that she connects this, rebellion and reward to, well, I've made some mistakes and have some regrets. In a way that doesn't feel very Taylor. But yeah, you could read it a couple different ways as to why she's saying it. I also love, how frustrated she gets, and she's like, now I understand why bitch gets so annoyed.
Yes.
Right? But Taylor's she's like, why won't you let me use your powers? Right? Just stand in line and let me use your cool powers, right?
I'm so good at using people, let me use you.
Exactly. She does, and then she also lists off her, all of her sins.
Uh-huh.
Was I a good guy doing all the wrong things? Am I dangerous and unhinged? I wasn't sure how to think about myself. How the hell were they supposed to make a call?
This is the problem. She just needs to be more full of herself. And I think that she's going to grow. I mean, I don't think it's in her personality to overrate herself. This self-doubt seems really baked in. But I do think she's going to grow into more confidence in her abilities. And I think she'll feel less of a need to, tear herself down in front of people who are trying to praise her or who she's trying to impress and make use of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got an arc coming.
Yeah. I just think it's because Taylor, I see Taylor not as being well, the heroes would think that I'm dangerous, but she sees herself as dangerous.
Yeah, she's not sure how to think about herself.
Yeah. That's part of the coming of age of it all, of the superhero story that we're in, right? Mm-hmm. I had some other, little things. So one, Cherish says, you won't be able to contact Imp without her help.
Did she,
what happened to Imp?
Tie up Imp in the bathroom of that building or something?
Yeah, is Imp, distracted? Is Cherish, monitoring her?
I think Imp is out of range for Cherish to be actively manipulating, but I feel like she, took Imp captive.
Yeah, it was a very alarming phrase.
Yeah.
It could also just be posturing. Yeah.
But, otherwise, why wouldn't Imp have found them already?
Yeah.
She must have done something to her.
But if she did, then did she beat Tattletale? Because Tattletale definitely seemed to imply, oh, you guys are meeting up later.
Right, but I think yeah, that doesn't quite make sense. Did she send Imp on an errand?
Right. I'm very curious to figure out.
I guess we'll find out. That wasn't an ending thing. I mean, you already know. I'm the one who's going to have to wait and see.
Fair. What do you think of Skitter's plan for Cherish?
Oh, to put her out to sea?
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's really smart.
She's going to be a siren, right? You go sailing by and
That's so true.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you want to help her.
Yeah.
You have to put earplugs on your mind.
Yeah.
Wow, that's such a good comparison.
Did you have any thoughts about Oliver?
Oh, yeah.
Being put on the case. Is this a signal that he has some kind of thinker power? Or it's this is a task simple enough that even a normal Oliver can help?
There's no reason she wouldn't have asked Coil to just have one of his minions do it if it were just
how do we get a message to them without killing the messenger?
I bet Oliver has a power.
Could be cool.
We just don't know about it yet.
Could be cool. I also enjoyed, just another little note, bitch gets some time to focus on her dogs.
Yeah.
And Taylor is I don't agree with that, but bitch gets to be in control over her domain. And I feel we've had a couple of beats of that where just there's a healthy respect there instead of Taylor being no, you're going to do what I say. We're going to fully optimize. And bitch has kind of a special place for Taylor and that well, no, she gets to be the only one who makes her own decisions. I feel that's more or less what I got.
All right. Well, I think that next chapter, there's going to be a rescue attempt. I really want something unexpected to come up, like Arms Master. Mm-hmm. And or Dragon. Joining them, perhaps. Because I think this is going to go really badly.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I do think ultimately they will get Gru back. But I think we're due for some down chapters. This was a down chapter, but I think we're due for some more of them.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to pay for that victory we had.
All right, well, I'm kind of worried about that, but I guess we'll find out.
What about the sentence?
Oh, the sentence is, I was a lot more comfortable
riding on Genesis than on one of Bitch's dogs. I don't know.
We'll find out.
Next time.
On Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildvote. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.